Good
This is
evening, everyone.
Florida
This
man.
is Florida Man Does Weather, and me and Caleb again. We're going to do something a little bit different tonight. We've had a few people asking for more like a podcast or informational type videos as well, in addition to our forecast. So, what we want to do today with hurricane season coming up, we want to cover something called model output statistics, or MOS. We call it MOS in the meteorological field, and raw data. So MOS versus raw. Um, the thing that inspired this is we're starting to notice there's a lot of clickbaiting and fear pages starting to push misinformation out there, starting to push data that is just quite frankly bad data and not true. If you see, oftentimes these pages will clip off which model is being run. Sometimes because they use models like the Canadian model or one of the obscure ensemble family models that focus on one parameter and give you wildly incorrect data. But they don't want you to see that. So what they do is they crop it off to where you can't see that, or portray it when they share it on social media where you can't see it, because they want you to see this big bad hurricane or this tropical signal. And usually it's tropical development will happen at the end of the month. So it's always long term. So it's always 360 hours, 270 hours, way out beyond the accurate range of models. So without further ado, let's start breaking this down. Okay. Caleb, can you
So,
switch over to the GFS for me real quick?
ensemble.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So this is the GFS ensemble, and what this is this is the entire GFS family ran at the same time, and then this map is created as an average of everything that gets run. So you see the little pockets of red; those are all individual numbers indicating low pressure systems. Okay, low pressure centers. So each ensemble run has a center that it creates for that low pressure system. And so what they do is it's mapping all of those low pressure centers to try to create an average. So you see, like for example, um, in the middle, all the blue numbers, that's all of the ensembles estimating where they think the Bermuda High is. Offshore of North Carolina, you have a cluster, a real tight cluster that is indicating a low pressure system that is pulled offshore of the East Coast. And that is the ensemble are pretty dialed in at um, what time on the 12Z run, valid at 12Z, May 22.
This is
What
8
that's
a.m. zero
Yeah,
hour.
0 hour. So what it's doing is it's pretty locked in on estimating for you where those low pressure systems are. Okay, which would make sense because that's 0 hour. That's initiation. So most of them have a pretty solid grip on initiation. Um, Caleb, go ahead and knock it out about. Give me about 5 frames.
One, two, three, four, five.
Okay, now you notice that the models were in tight agreement as that low pressure system that was offshore of North Carolina moved. Now, once we got to the 6th frame, you notice in New England, there's a whole bunch of red numbers. Okay, that is disagreement in the model family as to where the low pressure system is going to be. When you see the GFS model run, it's an average of all of those ensemble members. Same thing out in the Atlantic. You have the Bermuda High. You have a classic example of the models are converging on a general area, but each ensemble run is disagreeing slightly with the strength of the high and is disagreeing slightly as to where the position is. So you have a broad area where it's estimated to be. Okay. Now, knock it out to about, let's say, what hour? We're at 54 hour. Take me to 120.
120.
Okay. There's a lot more disagreement now. You see how there's red numbers everywhere. Okay. The model ensemble runs are suggesting, okay, where the track could be of this low pressure system. So the low pressure system that pulls off of New England, you can kind of see there's an estimate as to where the track would be going across the North Atlantic because all of the ensemble runs are disagreeing on what time and what position that low pressure system where the track will be. Okay. Some have it still offshore. Some have it all the way up near France. Okay. So there's a lot of uncertainty there. The Bermuda High, still kind of in tight agreement there as to where the Bermuda High is, but that's not surprising because the Bermuda High doesn't really move much at all. It kind of just sits in one spot. Across the northeast of the United States, there's blue numbers everywhere. There's a lot of disagreement as to where that high pressure is going to be. There's red numbers all across the central United States. There's disagreement as to where the next mid-latitude cyclone will be. 120 is considered the maximum range of operational accuracy for our models. Okay. None of the junk that the hypecasting pages will share is going to be inside that frame because inside that frame, the results are not going to be what you want. Okay. It's not going to be these crazy category 3 phantom hurricanes. Kaleb, knock me out to about hour 300.
One thing I also want to note real quick is
Mm-hmm.
a week ago we were seeing posts that were calling for a tropical storm or a hurricane in the Gulf by late May. If you notice the date up here, May 27th, there's nothing in
Nothing.
the Gulf.
Inside operational range, inside 120 hours, nothing.
So I'm gonna knock this. Well, we'll just do a frame by frame. We'll just go and
There you go.
just watch how everything just kind of evolves and goes insane and spreads out. So now the Bermuda High is everywhere. There's lows literally across the entire screen at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And then watch what happens with the tropics. So now you've got pages saying something's coming in June. Oh, really? We're at hour 306. What's coming in June? I don't know, anywhere from all the way out here to all the way into Central America, all the way from south of Nova Scotia to Venezuela, Honduras. There could be something. Oh no.
Now, pause on that note, Kaleb. Right there, that's a perfect screen grab right there, 324. So hold it there for a second. So there's a lot of intense yellows on the screen there with low pressure systems in the Gulf. That's where all the hype casting pages are going bananas today, sharing things. Fresh model runs, beginning of June, blah, 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 June the 5th. Everybody screaming and hollering, okay? Literally, okay? It's all caps, exclamation points, all that stupidity, driving me nuts. Now, the reason why, okay, these models are in agreement there, all the ensembles are in agreement there, is we are now in the range of MOS or model output statistics. Okay. The model is running in low power beyond 120. Okay. To save power. Now, when a model is in low power mode, the model relies heavily on climatological data, not actual raw data. It doesn't run on raw data. It doesn't have the energy consumption. Like it cannot. It's not budgeted for that kind of energy consumption. It goes into low power mode beyond 120. In low power mode, it cannot use raw data. It has to use climatological data. Now, what is climatological data? Climatological data is data that stretches from the beginning of recorded history. So since we've started taking recordings, okay, of the weather and storms out in the Atlantic Basin up until present day. The theory is as the data set deepens, the models get more accurate. Now, the problem is model output statistics will hinder you in the fact that model output statistics are based on statistics. Okay? Based on statistics. What this is saying is that in times past, statistics have shown that storms have formed at the beginning of June, beginning of hurricane season. Those storms have formed. We've seen them early beginning of the year, early beginning of the season tropical storms. They do form and they usually run into Florida or they run into Gulf states. Okay. So with no actual data to run off of and only climatological information, climatological data. No actual raw data is running off of. I should clarify that. No actual raw data to run off of, only climatological data. What this model is saying is, hey, I have seen many instances in recorded history where a storm has formed out of the Caribbean at this particular time. I need to put this in the model run. That's what the computer is thinking. Okay. And that's why model output statistics, while they are a good baseline when it comes to predicting um, storm intensity, that kind of thing, because model output statistics focus on wind currents, water temperature, that kind of thing. Okay. While it's good for guiding us in a forecast once something's already there, you don't want to use MOS to predict what we call initiation. Okay. That's where these pages make all their money. Now, the reason why we get so heated over this and the reason why we get so worked up over this misinformation is here's how it works. These hype pages share this fear mongering information out there to get people who honestly are concerned because let's face it, being through a hurricane, even for meteorologists, is a scary thing. Okay. We just rode through Hurricane Milton. We had gusts up to 135 miles, 130 miles an hour, okay, across eastern Hillsborough and points south of us. It's very scary. Strongest winds I've ever been in. Strongest winds, no doubt, Kaleb, you've ever been in. Very
Oh
serious.
yeah. Oh yeah.
So, understandably, people are concerned. They start seeing these big, scary graphics. They want to know more. They click, they follow. Because, let's be honest with you, they're trying to trust people. They're trying to trust someone who seems knowledgeable. Well, guess what? Once that page gets so many clicks, so much traffic, so many subscribers, Facebook allows them to monetize, which means they start making money off of you clicking on their clickbait and fear pages. Some of these pages even have subscribed for exclusive content because they'll share more of this nonsense behind a paywall. So you're paying them to feed you fear and hype. So what's going on is once these pages build this establishment, they just continually churn this nonsense out over and over again. They know it's false. They don't care. Why? Because at the expense of your mental well being and at the expense of your anxiety and at the expense of your fear, they're making money off of Facebook ad clicks. Because every time you click on their page, there's a little banner ad that pops up in there somewhere along their page, and Facebook pays them a check every time you click. They put up this fear stuff to make you afraid. They get a paycheck at your expense. Do you want that? That's why we get so irritated. Okay. Yeah, sure. We could go and we could share the same thing. We could get two, three, 400,000 followers. We could share the same 300 hour, 330 hour, 340 model garbage. We could get the views. We could get the money. But that's not why we went to school for meteorology. That's not why me and Kaleb have specialized in tropical meteorology. The point of this is to educate the public and to bring around to everyone's knowledge what's really going on. We want to teach you how to read a map, teach you how to understand things. Okay? That's the whole purpose of this page. Me and Kaleb have specialized with our degrees in tropical cyclone genesis. Okay, tropical cyclogenesis, the creation of hurricanes, the paths they take, and then once they get close enough to land, me and Caleb are also studying land interaction and tornado genesis that is induced by those tropical cyclones. Okay, now enough rambling on the errors of MOS and the fear casting. Okay, let's go ahead and let's look at raw data. I'll let you take that away with what's really going on so that the folks can see what's really happening and contrast that with what we just discussed with these fear pages.
So we've got some pages out right now that are talking about this tropical wave out in the Atlantic, talking about how it could develop. Then you look at the National Hurricane Center's website, and there's no areas with any type of percentage for development. Now, that might change. That might be like a 10% area, but what usually happens with those is absolutely nothing. They were only given a 10% chance of development. They were just erring on the side of caution, really, just on that outside chance that something could happen. This one, I doubt we'll even get that. It's a super, super unfavorable environment. So there's your wave down here where my cursor is, circling that area. We've got another area coming into the Eastern Pacific. That one actually looks pretty decent. It's a pretty low shear environment. Look at all these cloud tops. You got all these storms forming. These ones aren't really moving too much, and especially these guys, they've been here for a few hours at this point, and you don't see those cloud tops moving much at all. You go a little bit north, you see those cloud tops start racing off to the east. So that's your area of wind shear. You look in the Atlantic, we got this big tropical wave. It looks like it could do something. It never will. We've got one trough out here. You got winds coming out the north, and then they switch directions and they're coming out the southwest. That would rip anything apart. If it gets past that, we got another spot. Over here in eastern Cuba, you can see we got some pretty strong westerlies. You get even further north into the Western Caribbean, they've got even stronger westerlies. You get into the Gulf, we've got even stronger westerlies. Everything that would even remotely get up there in the tropics would get sheared apart so fast it wouldn't even have time to develop any semblance of a surface circulation. So, any of these pages you see talking about this current tropical wave out in the Atlantic, if they're talking about anything coming from that or even really having to watch for it, like they're crazy. There's nothing that's going to happen with this thing out here. This is going to die the usual death of early season tropical waves, and that means it's just going to become more and more diffuse the closer it gets to this area of shear. By the way, this little trough is probably going to dig even further, and probably in a day or two, you'll start seeing the effects. You'll start seeing this area even sheared further out towards this way as it gets closer, and then you won't see it anymore. It'll just vanish into South America, maybe even get sucked up into this and become an oceanic mid-latitude system at some point. It might feed into that because it's got the tiniest bit of vorticity with it. So if it interacts with this big trough, it'll probably become some type of mid-latitude cyclone that will then just race off into Europe or whatever, or just maybe meander out here for a couple days. But yeah, that's what we got. We got pages talking about tropical waves that left African coast yesterday. So this thing isn't going to do anything. If anybody's saying that it's going to do something, they're playing you essentially.
Yes. Why don't you?
So
Why, Go ahead. Sorry, Caleb. Go ahead.
just for fun, I was looking for the actual model runs that I've been seeing these pages share. I don't know what they've been sharing. So this is the 12Z Euro. This is the full run. I've got it on basically the widest view I can get, but they were sharing something coming into the Gulf. Comment down below if you see any tropical systems entering the Gulf on this, because I don't. I see the summer sea breeze pattern starting. Hopefully, we'll see. But I don't see any tropical systems. And then I'll go to the GFS. Same thing. Got it pretty wide out. Let me know if you see anything. I see the sea breeze. I see some mid-latitude lows. And by hour 234, we have something. Well, guess what? It's hour 234. And what does this model even do with it? Nothing. It gets absorbed into a larger mid-latitude cyclone. So by this point, this is model fantasy land. This is just the model being a goober, and this is never going to happen. Not saying that we won't get something in June, but we don't even have an MJO phase that's discernible right now. Like there's really nothing going on. The only favorable area for tropical convection is this spot right around here.
Eastern Pacific.
And
Absolutely.
that is why the National Hurricane Center has this area highlighted and not this area. But you know what? Let's just see. Was it the 6C run? I'll go. We'll start it at hour 210 because it's not likely that they looked at anything sooner than that.
Because it doesn't give them the results they want.
So hour 210 onwards. Now you've got really just a large cutoff low that the model is depicting.
That's the only thing.
So I have no clue what they shared. Let's find the Canadian. Maybe the Canadian did it. Now the Canadian model, I'm not even sure if they have
I don't
the
think you can reach that
same.
far.
Yeah, you can't even get that far out. But the Canadian model, I'm not even sure if they have the same partnership with us on
Yeah,
data that the Europeans do. The European
right.
model, we share our upper air data and our our sounding data with them because we have that cool partnership. I don't even know if we have that for the Canadian model. I have no clue. I asked a professor and he didn't know either. So who knows?
Plus, the Canadian model does not have a really good track record when it comes to tropical development, anyways.
No, the Canadian model is kind of rough. Now the UK Met did good with Debbie last year, but that was one. That was like its one win. Was it did pretty good with the placement of Debbie about I think it was like 75-ish hours away, and it put it near the Big Bend area, which that was pretty solid. So
Yeah,
we'll see what this does. And it doesn't even go out far enough to where they were posting, but as you can see, nothing tropical in the Gulf. You just got a mesoscale
mid-latitude stuff.
system, a mid-latitude system. That's it.
Yeah,
So
that's
we
what,
don't
and
even
that goes back to what I was saying.
these pages are pulling from. That's the
Yeah,
funny part.
well, and that's the thing. That's the reason why they cut off. If you look at it, they'll go to weather belt. They'll take a screen grab. They'll cut off the name of the ensemble that they picked and just throw it up there. Major
Mm-hmm.
models, all the runs are in agreement. Where?
Which ones? I'd
Yeah,
love for you to tell us.
like there was one that
Be
was just
nice.
put as there's literally a page that literally keeps sharing the same type post with this very similar wording. Last week they posted one end of May, tropical development. Um, this is not a forecast, not like a but all the models are in agreement. Then guess what? They just posted again last night, same thing, and then they doubled down and posted it again today, but pushed back another week. Because guess what? At hour 364, the models start going whack. Well, they go whack a lot earlier than that, but they're notorious. Further out you go, the wilder the story gets. As a matter of fact, I'd say, Kaleb, what do you think? By the end of May, we're gonna have Cat fives on the GFS every single run. Like it's a given. The GFS is
I'd give it a
known for
little bit more
phantom
time.
runs.
I'd give it a little bit more
You
time.
think? Even
First
with the
week of
model degradation?
June. I
Even with the model degradation?
don't know. I mean, you're yeah. Honestly, yeah. Because the GFS right now has a what was the 5 day
It's it's
accuracy
it's
correlation
down.
coefficient was like a 0.7.
Yeah, it's getting really bad. It's
It's bad,
lost.
bad.
It's lost a significant portion of its accuracy. Well, guess what? The GFS of the last few years have been working really hard. The people that were running it, the awesome people who were running it, were working really hard at getting all those kinks out. Well, guess what? They all got fired. So the problem is now there's nobody working to get all that stuff out. We've lost a lot of balloon data. So the GFS is
Yeah.
referring back to its old habits. Its old habits are it's notorious for throwing garbage storms up there, phantom storms, especially at the beginning of the season, that never manifest. And at the beginning of the season, us meteorologists, we sit around and laugh because you get past hour 200 and we've got Cat 5 mega hurricanes with like 890 millibar pressures running right up the Gulf into Tampa Bay, like constantly.
Yeah.
So
Even
going
last
back to
year it
its
was
old
doing
habits,
that.
degraded model data, um, less quality control, old habits are looming again. You're going to get these phantom storms on the radar, are not on the model because the error is high. The error is already high because the data is being limited that comes in. And the thing is, and this is how numerical weather prediction works. For every frame that you go out, the error increases exponentially. So when you have more error, okay, so maybe you have this much error at the beginning. Okay, by the time you get to the end of the model run, it's about this big. Okay. Now, you may have this much error now at the beginning because there's degraded data or there's not as much data. That may not seem like a big deal in the short term, but since it increases exponentially and the error multiplies on itself, now you're dealing with error this big way out 200, 300 hours. So the storms that it creates are just going to get wilder and wilder and wilder because that error, the further you go, just multiplies on itself and gets bigger and bigger.
Oh yeah. You know what? Just for fun, not observations. Euro AI. Let's see what this guy's doing. So we'll do precipitable water because it'll show your areas of low pressure and your, bundles of essentially high water content, high moisture content in the atmosphere. And when you see a big bundle of that paired up with a low pressure center, it's something tropical, especially this time of year. So watch for any of those. You've got that potential Eastern Pacific development. That seems reasonable. But now you're out over 200 hours. So now it's in Goofy land. Nothing.
Nothing.
Literally
So
no clue what these pages are showing you guys.
the moral of the story, stay off these pages. If the page is showing you anything beyond 120, throw it out. If the page is not run by a credible meteorologist, throw it out. If it's something that's all caps exclamation points on something that may happen, throw it out. These pages are making a killing out there. Some of them are making thousands of dollars on your fear and anxiety. Don't give them that. Kill it now. And it starts with you, the viewer. On the plus side, me and Kaleb have the good news that looks like it's going to be quiet in the tropics for a while. Um, once things actually happen and things actually start to fire, rest assured, me and Kaleb will be working around the clock to help give you guys information through posts on Facebook and YouTube updates. Our goal is to have the channel rigged up to where we can give you guys live Q&A sessions from a practical perspective, from a practicing meteorologist perspective. By that time, um, our goal is not just to share scary looking graphics and maps. We want you to understand how it works so that you can make conclusions and educated decisions on your own. Hurricane season is scary enough with reality. We don't need fantasy land making things worse for us. So, without further ado, Kaleb, you have anything to say to wrap things up? Because I think we've basically covered things for tonight.
Yeah, we've actually got a tropical forecast video planned. We've got the opportunity to work with one of our favorite professors at Mississippi State. He also is a professor at multiple other universities. Right now, he was just finishing up a semester. I can't remember the university, but it's based in Oswego, New York. So,
And he also
what was
works in
it?
Pennsylvania. He's all over the
Yeah,
place.
Pennsylvania. He taught with Embry Riddle too, and
Very
really
well
smart man.
known, very well respected professor. He's a
Mhm.
doctor. You do not want to miss this. We will be hyping that video up before it comes out so that you guys have plenty of advanced warning before it comes because when this professor gets on, you're not going to want to miss it.
Yeah, it's going to be some good stuff. So we got that planned. When these hurricanes do pop off, we are going to be live. If a hurricane is striking anywhere in Florida this year, we plan to be on it. So
Absolutely.
stay tuned for that. That is going to be a very cool experience for you guys. You'll get to see our thought process when we're out there chasing the outer bands for tornadoes, and you'll get to see our thought process when we are trying to close in on the core of a hurricane or tropical cyclone, tropical storm, whatever it is. It's going to be enough to bring us something to do, something for you to view. It's going to be some cool stuff. We got a lot in the works, I think, and National Hurricane Center just came out with their forecast. They're calling for 13 to 19 named storms. So, either average or above average, we'll see. Just because we have that many storms doesn't mean that many are going to impact the U.S. at all. It really
Right.
all depends on where the steering currents are pointing things. We've seen seasons where it was pretty busy, and then
Yep.
one thing strikes. 2023, Idali was the only thing that struck the U.S. 2024, we had pretty much everything come out of the CAG hit the U.S. And then there were also some years where we've had just storm after storm across the Atlantic, and then just get shot way up to the Northeast, either hitting Canada, or just going way off to sea. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep you guys posted. Stay tuned to the channel. It's going to be good.
All right, guys, your two favorite Florida men.